welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, once again to our Coffee and Conversation. I am Craig, one of your recovery coaches here at Capital Recovery Center, and we are so glad to be here today on this morning.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Michael, one of your recovery coaches. I'm also wonderful. Glad you guys are here. What we got here? We got any announcements today?
Oh yeah. Oh, we always have something.
Oh, we got something.
Oh, we got something going on for the people. So just going over some things, and one of the things is on tomorrow we're going to have our road vehicle going to be out in the community. Road stands for Recovery on Wheels. It's located on your screen, and we're going to be at Lowry's Liquor Store in Laurel Lake.
Nice.
1428 East Buck Shootem Road, Millville, New Jersey. Please come out. We'll be out there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and there's going to be some recovery coaches out there going to assist you with all that you may need.
Even if you need information for one of your loved ones, please come out and get the information that you need to assist people who struggle with a substance use disorder or whatever terminology you would like to use.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, without further ado, let's go talking about our overdose awareness Candlelight Vigil, which we are so excited to present every year that I've been working for the county, Cumberland County Human Services. And we're going to have this overdose awareness Candlelight Vigil. It's going to take place August 31st of this year, 2021. And the doors open at 6 p.m. You have to register. We're asking everyone to register, and there is a link. You may see it on the bottom of the screen. Please go on that link. We're going to be at the address that's already noted. And so come out, and if you have a photo of a loved one that you want like us to commemorate during this Candlelight Vigil, please submit that as well. And it's going to be a wonderful time to be together and just reflect on the lives of those who have been affected by this overdose awareness. Yes.
All right.
Okay, and so on today, what we got, Mike?
What we got? Well, today we're gonna talk about to count or not to count, the pros and cons of counting sobriety days. And a lot of times, a lot of individuals or people have different views and opinions about should we count these days, shouldn't we count these days? And you know, everybody is entitled to their own personal opinion. Some people, we're going to go over it. This handout was actually provided by recoveries.org. It's a website you can go to get material to help you in your process. You can teaching on recovery or doing things that dealing with sobriety or whatever, or for your own personal edification. You can go there and get all types of information from that particular website. The website is www.recovery.org. I recommend you go there. I always get a lot of stuff on there for my own personal life. So today, to count or not to count, the pros and the cons, And again, if you would like to follow along with us, you can always get the link in the description. I put the link in there from where we got this particular handout from, and you can go ahead and get it and follow along. So we're going to start by reading, how much time do you have? Is the question you almost always get when you walk into a meeting. Some meetings even start with the members introducing themselves by first names and their sobriety dates, meaning the last day they consumed the alcohol beverage or some kind of drink or some type of drug. This is very important. This is so good.
And the reason that being, if you ever been to an AA meeting or NA meeting, that just basically a groundbreaker to get people to be engaged and to share, because it's so important to celebrate your accomplishment. And so that is something that someone and everyone should be proud of, you know, because I would like to say I'm in long-term recovery, and I've been doing this for a while, and so I'm willing to share because, as often said, the more you share, the more you give away, the more you can maintain your sobriety.
The more you give away, man, it's always good to give. It's more blessed to give than receive. That's so true. All right, so let's go into it. It says, what counts as a drug is not entirely clear, since all AA and as a whole discourages members from playing doctor in the pamphlet, medications, and other drugs. Narcotics Anonymous famously does not consider anyone on MAT, the medical recognized gold standard for opiate-dependent treatment, clean. Now that's important. Some places doesn't recognize people on MAT as being so-called clean. And that's important because you got to understand what arena you go to. That's why we talk about different pathways to recovery. You have to find a pathway of recovery that's most effective for you. Will put you in a position to be the most effective in your recovery.
And also, let's look at some of these terminologies. So the DSM, I believe, the fifth edition, they address a certain terminology of saying clean as opposed to, so when you say clean, you were saying I was dirty. So they try to do away with certain terminology. And just like we read once before, we were talking about medication assisted treatment. We read an article, they used the term medication assisted recovery as opposed to treatment. And so these are intertwinable words or changes that can be changeable. But however, you just want to be mindful that we don't want to put no stereotypes or label anyone.
Or stigma.
With stigma. All right? Where you at, Mike?
I'm gonna flip over, man. I'm gonna jump right here.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes, man.
I like the meat and potato. I'm a meat and potato guy, man. You still kind of thick. Listen, why counting counts? All right, let's read that. This man's gotta go. Okay. The reason for counting varies, but the most obvious is that not wanting to lose time can provide a reason to stay away from that first drink or other drug that could lead to more. Seeing those days of sobriety rack up on sobriety calculators that are now on many people's phone can be gratifying and keep people motivated to do what it takes to achieve their goals. So here, when we're talking about why count, why counting counts, and it's talking about that some people, when they see the days on the calculator, or whatever they use to count, it gives them motivation or it gives them gratification. There's so many different apps out there that you can use. I have an app that counts how many days I've been married, all the way down to the minute, to the second, and it tells you how many days, how many weeks, how many months, how many years. And just looking at it every so often, like, man, I've been married this many days, and it, it does something for the individual. So here, when it's talking about why counting counts, it says that sober calculators that are now on many people's phone can be gratifying and keep people motivated. Again, if it's going to keep you motivated, then count your days. If somebody doesn't like counting days, that's their particular choice. But if you like to be motivated or counting the days that you have in your sobriety, I suggest you just keep counting. It says, reporting sobriety time and meetings can be a happy occasion. The celebrations, the congratulations one receives on every day, every month, and every year may be the only positive reinforcement that some people get. So we're talking about why counting counts. And it says that some people, when they celebrate their sobriety, clean time, or whatever terminology you want to use, when they celebrate their recovery success, when they celebrate that, that might be the only positive reinforcement that an individual receive ever. So counting counts in that aspect. It says the only positive reinforcement that some people get when their lives have been so destroyed by the records of drug use and the stigma around it that they feel proud of little other than their time. They feel proud. Remember, we was telling, we did a teaching one time about celebrating the small success. It's the small victories. You got to celebrate even the smallest of victories. So when you're talking about why counting counts, now the topic of the day is the pros and cons behind counting. But counting counts if it's motivating you to go after another goal. Say you have 1 week, right? And you going after 2 weeks. You keep counting. You go after 3 weeks. Whatever works for you. All right, let's move.
Let's get down to the next one. It says, well, what happens when you slip? Let's get into that. What happens when you slip?
This is tough one.
Almost everyone slips. In AA, there is no difference between a slip, meaning one drink or even a few sips, all right, and a full-blown relapse. We heard that we were doing a C-card training, and they was talking about, they was telling us about the 5 stages of changes, and that there's what they call a slip and a full-blown relapse. Mike and I, oftentimes, jokingly, because we are in recovery and we question, sometimes when we make a boo-boo doing paperwork or on the phone, we say, man, are you having a slip or a full-blown relapse? But it's good to have fun in recovery, because a lot of times people think they can't have fun in recovery, so we like to have fun as well.
And that's also, let me pull over, pause, and park for a moment. Listen, that's a question we're going to ask you. Do you believe in a slip?
Wow.
Do you believe that a slip and a full-blown relapse are the same thing? That's the question. Do you believe that a slip and a full-blown relapse are the exact same thing?
Because in this article, it says, meaning one drink or even a few sips and a full-blown relapse. Smart recovery makes this difference very clear. A brief slip needs not turn into a full-blown relapse. A relapse is a return to a problematic use behavior that has very negative health, social, and/or employment consequences. Let's talk about that.
Come on, let's do it.
Let's talk about that. And so when someone have a slip, from what this article is saying, is that they haven't reached a degree or level where their sip of a drink haven't caused them to have problematic consequences in their lifestyle. And a full-blown relapse, that's when someone is having negative health, social, and/or employment consequences. Smart stresses that the guilt over a slip can turn into a full-blown relapse if a person views a lapse as a personal failure. This is what Alan Marlett called the abstinence violation effect. Rather, it should be seen as an opportunity for learning about triggers and planning for how to maintain abstinence in the future. Now, I remember one time I was doing a CADC internship. That's when this girl was first step. And we were watching this video, and he was talking about the difference from what is a lapse. There's a difference from lapse, and there's a difference from relapse. And a lapse is something that when you begin to think about or romanticize about the use of drinking or uses of drugs, but you haven't reached the stage of using, where that can be considered a relapse.
And that's good, because that's why it's perfect to have everybody have their views and opinions on the situation, let me use my own personal recovery walk or process. I never ever functioned in my head a slip. It's always a relapse. Let me tell you why. Because I never do anything lightly. If I slip, it's over. Like I don't have do some heroin today and take off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and come back and do some Monday. I never ever had that happen in my life. So for me, a slip is a full-blown relapse. And that's my own personal belief for my recovery. I can't even factor in, well, you know, you just had a slip, because Michael never slips. Michael always go full-blown. So I have to factor that in, that, hey, you don't have slips available. I don't have them available to me. They're not in my arsenal. So you have to understand the difference between you have to apply it to your own. Yeah, that's true, man. I never had one. I heard one of my mentors, or somebody I'll call a mentor that I watch on television, and he said, yeah, the guy talking about he just gonna have one. He said, man, you ain't do one since 1941. Soon as you do it, you're gonna do it all. So you gotta understand but everybody has the right to their opinion about it.
And that's so true. A guy was telling me I was in one of the Department of Correctional Institute here in the state of New Jersey, and I was talking to a brother in the yard, and he said, man, he said, just like you described it, right? He said, man, I ain't never was a passive user. Never. He said, I was extreme. Every time I use, I go to the extreme, because he knew himself. He knew himself better than anyone knew him. So, and he was honest about it. He was very honest. Yeah. You know, and so I respect what you just said, man. Yeah. You know, you just can't take off. I don't have a Monday and then Wednesday I'm going on vacation. Yeah, once I start that engine, yeah, I don't have a shut off valve. I never had one. It's gone. It's very hard. Yeah. And so you don't even. But the key to that is in your own. I'm telling you right now, in your own personal recovery walk, in your own sobriety, or whatever terminology you want to call it. The life you live different from the life you used to, the different life you're living now from the life you used to live. You have to know your limits. My pastor tell me that all the time. Michael, every person has to know their limits, what they can do, what they can't do, what they shouldn't do, what they should do. Every person has to regulate that in their own life. You have to know your limits. So you need to know, I eliminate the idea of a slip. Like I can't have slip on the table. Mine is all have one terminology, full blown. Yeah. Like don't play with it. Yeah, I don't play with it. Mine is all full blown. Period. I don't have slip and full blown. So let's go. The next one. The alcohol AA approaches to slip. Let's see how AA looks at it. In AA, even a few sips of alcohol is regarded as a right there. There you go, right there. So I'm not an AA monster or like a TC monster. I'm not an AA therapeutic or you know, somebody can take me through the AA and NA and tear me to pieces. Yeah. But you know, it says they look at a sip of alcohol and regard it as a relapse. Even a person with 30 years continuous abstinence from alcohol is considered a newcomer. Watch this. If they drink even one drink, you lose all your time. Wow. 30 years? Yeah. Do you believe that I got another question for you guys. Do you believe that you can lose? Do you believe that you lose all your time? They say even a person with 30 years continuous absence from alcohol is considered a newcomer in the game. If they drink even one drink, you lose all your time. Wow.
Now, that's a good one. That's a good question here.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on the screen.
Put it on the screen. Let's see what
Let's
you
see.
think.
Let me get some comments of that. Do you believe that all your clean time, do you believe that you lose? My bad. Do you believe that you lose?
Uh-huh.
That's it? I got it?
That's lost. Lose. Oh.
Oh, I got it.
There you go. Yes.
Got it.
Lost.
All right, let's go. Question. Do you believe that you will lose all your clean time after you just one sip of alcohol or drug? Do you believe that you will lose it? Right? You got to, this is a good question because some people believe that if you, matter of fact, we had someone and we was talking to them and they said, I messed up about 3-4 back. I got 10 years clean. I relapsed about 2 or 3 times during the 10 years, but I got 10 years clean. And I was like, I was confused. But I understand that some people consider a slip don't mean that I lose all the time that I had clean. Right. Now that's debatable about how you see it and how you count your time. That's up to you. That's on your own personal preference. Right. But me, I'm only talking about Michael. My recovery starts over every time I pick up. Mm-hmm. To me. Mm-hmm. Every time I pick up, I can't say I'm going on 12 years now. This month celebrate my 12th year. If I picked up during the course of that 12 years, I don't have 12 years. I have the day after I stopped. Right. So the question is, do you believe that you will lose all your clean time after just one sip of alcohol or drugs?
Let's look at it from this perspective, Mike. Good. As a recovery coach, and we know that in AA meeting how they define it and describe it, that you have to start over from day one, even if you pick up one time. As a recovery coach, we deal with the 5 stages of change, and someone who has already made it through pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Yeah. And they relapse after going through those 5 stages of change. As a recovery coach, will we take that person all the way back to pre-contemplation?
It had to change. He would have to start making some adjustments somewhere, because I always say that I only use what my mentor told me. When I kept relapsing and I went through all those stages of change, he said something in your relapse prevention plan is flawed. Mm-hmm. So you have to change something. Right. Now, to go all the way back to the pre-contemplation, possibly not. To go to preparation, possibly yes. There you go. So I wouldn't go. I'm only using my own how he taught me. Yeah. I didn't have to go all the way to the back and start all over to the top, but I did have to change something in my plan, because if a relapse happened, that means something in my relapse prevention plan is flawed. That's not just me. That's everyone. And because ultimately you have to understand, slip or relapse, whatever you want to call it, the ultimate goal of the disease of addiction or the drug or whatever you want to call it, right? I call it the monster. The plan of that monster is to get you back to where you were. So if you keep having slips after slips after slips, thank God that you have the opportunity to start over. But you have to also remember the purpose of the thing that you haven't slips with. The purpose is to get you to the ultimate goal of killing you. So if it keeps getting you doing that cycle of you slip, just keep slipping, then more than likely the ultimate goal is to get you to basically kill yourself. Wow.
Hey, you answered that very well, Counselor.
Let's go, man.
And you're doing great. You want to keep on reading, or what's that?
Let's see. It says AA that requires going back to step 1. In AA, I'm talking about, let me put it on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. The Alcohol Anonymous approach to a slip. This is something that I'm not an AA guru. I'm not an NA guru. I'm a Bible guy. So if you want me to call me a guru or anything, it'll be the word of God. But I can only say if AA says that requires going back to step 1 in a 12-step process. If you have a slip, AA recommends or AA suggests go back to step 1 and start the process all over. And a process undertaken at least one by serious AA members, often repeated over a lifetime of AA participation. Why I ask, does one sip of alcohol or one drug require going back to the beginning? Now, see, I just said on the stage of the change, I will go to preparation, me personally. I will go to the preparation stage of change. Since there is no central authority in AA that adjudicates such matters, I pose this question to members. Here are some of the answers I received. The rationale is that if you have taken one drink, you don't believe you are an alcoholic. You don't believe you are powerless over alcohol. If you go back through step 1, hopefully the evidence will suggest that you are, and therefore you will not risk yourself again. Remember I was saying, if you keep having the slips, right? You keep having the slips, and you're not factoring them or considering slips relapses. The more you keep having those slips, you're basically risking your own sobriety over and over again. All right, let's drop down, man.
All right, let's go to the next topic. And it asks, well, I thought an alcoholic couldn't have just one. All right.
Well, let's see what's that.
Let's talk about that. And so it goes on to read, it says, it's a common thing throughout the big book and AA meetings that once one is an alcoholic, it is impossible to maintain control of alcohol consumption after even one drink. If this were the case, then counting days and living in fear of losing time would be rational behavior. Anyone who gets to the stage where alcohol or other drugs threaten their health, relationships, livelihood, and even safety and freedom does not want to risk losing control again. And that is so profound, because anyone who knows the importance of sobriety and the risk that comes with relapsing, they want to risk so many things. I used to tell people that was either coming out of incarceration or those who was in group meetings. I used to tell them, I say, listen, if you have all these things going for you, you have a house, a job, a car, a family, relationships, and you mess up one time, you can lose all those things on one slip or relapse. And so you must be mindful that those of us who are in recovery, we shouldn't want to mess around with fire. You know, when you was a kid, they tell you, don't touch that stove, boy, because you're going to get burned.
And also, when we talk about the pros and cons, we're talking about the pros and cons of counting good time, or whatever time the terminology you want to use. You have to understand the slip relapse, the dynamic. Like you were saying, you lose everything, and it's often that you lose it quick. Like it seems like it happens. Wham! You don't gain all this, and then you lose it just like that. Just that fast. Just that fast.
And it's further reads, and so we're gonna go a little longer, I believe, today, right?
Yeah, we good.
And so the article goes on to say, I'm just reading so we can get down to the next one. It says, there is, however, no scientific evidence to support this belief. On the contrary, the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism reports that 20 years after the onset of alcohol independence, about 3/4 of individuals are in full recovery. More than half of those who have fully recovered drink at low risk levels without symptoms of alcohol dependence. On the basis of a multi-wave study surveying thousands of people, the governmental authority charged with studying alcohol use disorders has concluded that the vast majority of people who were ever alcohol dependent do recover, and of those, more than half drink safely. So it is simply not the case that people who have been alcohol dependent can never control their drinking. The belief that an alcoholic loses control can, however, become a self-fulfilling prophecy, according to the developers of the self-stigma and alcohol dependence scale, SSAD. A survey designed to measure the degree to which one identifies with negative stereotypes about those who drink too much and how much harm these beliefs do to the person's self-esteem. The worse you feel about yourself because of your drinking, the less likely you are be able to refuse a drink.
That's good. The worse you feel about yourself because of your drinking, the less likely you are who will be able to refuse. Yeah, the worse you feel, you don't want to feel. You know how people say, "Man, I felt good," or the good old days. There wasn't no such thing. Okay. Hey, wasn't no good old days, man. That's mine. That's mine. Let's go to. I'm going to talk about now. When does counting help? Remember, we're talking about counting days or not counting days. Some people love to count their sobriety or time away from the substance use disorder that they had or whatever. Some people don't. Mine, I count them. If I miss a year, I don't get mad, but I know that August every year is another year. So this is August. So this is my 12th year. This is my 12th year. And I celebrated just like, it's amazing to me just to be celebrated. So when does counting help and when does it hurt? All right, let's take it on out of here, sir. Practically speaking, a person should count days if it helps them achieve their goals. Remember, I was talking about the app. You can get to count days about not just days in recovery, but it count my app that I use counts my marriage time, but you can put other events in there and they count those as well. It says counting helps when it provides motivation for sticking to one's plan. Counting helps when it gives a sense of achievement for achieving one's goal. Counting helps when the individual is counting out the excitement at beginning a new life, not fear of falling back into its old pattern. All of those right there is me. I take every last one of those. Then these are 3 bullets or 3 reasons why I count. I count because it provides motivation to sticking to my plan. I count because it gives me a sense of achievement for achieving my goals. And I also count because of the excitement of beginning a new life. And I don't have a fear of falling back to my old patterns anywhere but backwards. That's my motto. So counting helps when those 3 things are at the forefront of a person's mind.
And then, so on the opposite side of that, counting hurts when a slip becomes full-blown relapse because the person figures, I've lost my time anyway, may as well go all out. Ain't that something?
Yeah, that's not good.
As opposed to seeking help. All right, it says, fear of public humiliation deters a person from seeking help, there it is, and support after a slip or relapse. The rational mind would say, well, you know, I messed up, I relapsed, or I slipped, let me get some help,
period.
But due to a fear of humiliation, some people will continue on. And then we read something before when it says, if you even get those thoughts, tell somebody.
Tell on.
Tell.
You get that thought. Tell on it.
Tell on it. That's how you do it. Expose that thought.
Yeah.
And so it better you be able to handle the situation
Absolutely.
effectively. It said counting is imposed by an outside authority, which will eventually lead to rebellion. A person bases their entire self-worth on the number of days on the sobriety calculator or the number of AA and NA clips collected. Just as dietitians recommend against basing feelings of self-worth entirely on the number on the scale, professionally trained therapists, not those who only training is participation in 12-step program, warns against believing that more sobriety equals being a better person.
Oh.
Or worse, that having a drink or drug reduces a person to worthlessness. Such feelings can lead to severe relapse and even suicide.
Wow.
And that's why it's so important that we have these candlelight vigils to help those who may have been affected by such things as alcohol deaths or drug usage death. And so we want people to know that there are help out there, and we are there to support them as recovery coaches here at Capital Recoveries. Listen, if you're having these thoughts of drinking, tell on it. Tell on it. Don't be afraid of fear of humiliation. You know, speak out and get some help, because that's what we're here for. We're not just here just to be sitting up here talking. We're here to give you some life supporting skills and some coping skills. And we want to expose the trick of certain triggers, some urges, and certain cravings. And if you are having those three entities that I just made mention of, listen, call us at the number. The number's on the screen. And what it says, how can we help you
with your recovery today?
856-391-7449 or 1-800-236-2448. Give us a call. Give us a ring-a-ling. We are here to help you in the community.
All right. So should I count? Remember our topic of today. Our topic is simply to count or not to count. The pros and cons of counting sobriety days. So we're going to end on should I count? That's a question. What should I count? Who should you tell about your count? Let me tell you about my number. My wife count my number too. She said, man, it's a long time, brother. It's up to you. See, we got to all that and we just came to this conclusion. Counting is up to you. If it helps you, count it. If it helps you to promote how many times or how long you've been celebrating. We have Celebrate Recovery every last Friday, first Friday of the month. We celebrate Spotlight Recovery. We spotlight someone who has been successful in their recovery or sobriety life. And they tell us how many years they have been walking it out or living that different lifestyle. We use that to encourage others. So it's up to you. Unless you are in a program where you are drug tested on a regular basis and required to share your count with someone to stay out of jail or maintain your professional license, you are under no obligation to count. It's all up to you. Almost all sobriety dates are self-reported. That means some people lie. That's my clinical terminology. Some people just lie about their dates when they know that they possibly have used. So they all are self-reported, and I'm sure not the first to wonder if everyone who reports many years of continuous sobriety in or outside of meetings is telling the whole truth. That simply means if you're trying to compare yourself to somebody else and you feel discouraged because you had a slip or relapse and it seems like that all the time that you put in, you're not measuring up to somebody else. Listen, don't compare yourself one to another. Just focus on yourself. What else we got here?
Want me to make sure
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
All right, so if you love waking up in the morning to see the number on your sobriety counter go up, if you committed to abstinence and have a clear vision of what that means to you, and if you have a plan to survive a slip without losing your self-esteem, then by all means, continue to count.
If you're counting because your parent, spouse, boss, doctor, or sponsor home group expect you to, you're probably being set up for failure. If you wake up in terror that you drunk the night before, even though you know you didn't, and you reach out, sobriety calculated to reassure yourself, you're still worthy. You may be putting too much emphasis on the day count and not enough on finding ways to love and care for yourself. That simply means don't make your counting your days more important than you doing the necessary coping skills needed to maintain your sobriety. Don't get so locked up on a date that you forget to do some edifying of your own life.
So at the end it says, counting days should be a tool, not a moral compass. Remember, no matter what your day count, you count.
No matter what your day count is, always remember you count. All right, so don't forget that. And as always, we like to thank you for tuning in for the Coffee and Conversation. How you doing, Mr. Kevin, man? Good to see you, man.
Top of the morning, Kevin.
Again, we thank y'all. We will be back Thursday. We will be here Thursday at 1 p.m. and we will be doing our all recovery meeting. And that has always been dealing with different pathways to recovery. Today, we talked about the pros and cons of counting your days or not counting your days. Ultimately, it comes down to you. If counting your days help motivate you to fulfill the plan or the goals you have for your life, then I salute you. Count your days.
And also remember, tell somebody on tomorrow, Ro will be out in the neighborhood of Millville. We're going to be out at Lowry's Liquor Store, Laurel Lake,
Millville,
1428 East Buck Shootem Road, Millville, New Jersey, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right. And so please come out, share the wealth of information. And once again, my name is Craig. I'm on the recovery coach. Take care. Have a blessed day.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you.